Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here with Spellbinders, and we are going to create a fall-themed card using the Glimmer of the Month kit for October. Now remember, if you subscribe to the Glimmer of the Month, you will be able to get 10% off of the system. So I'll make sure I have a link to all of those wonderful details. So this is the set for October. You get these beautiful pumpkins and the greens that come off. So you get the one set that's connected, and then you get individuals, and there's matching dies for the majority of them. The foil for the month is copper. So what I like to do is get everything prepped when I know I'm going to be doing a lot of foiling. Now you can see my machine up in the corner there. I will link to the video of how to use the machine, and there are others that are available too, so I'll link to those as well. But today I'm just going to focus on the creating of the card. So I do like to cut my foils down to the size of the plate. That does help minimize the chance of the ghosting of the foil, but it's easy to remove. So I just like to get those trimmed up. I like to get my cardstocks trimmed up. And when there's dies, not worrying about centering or anything else like that. So this is definitely, because I am going to be foiling multiple pieces, we're kind of going to go in a huge production line type of thing. Yes. Now, always remember, when you put your foils on the plates, after they're heated up, you want to put the shiny side down, so you have the gray backing facing up to you. So you're pressing the gold into the cardstock. I like to pull my plate out first and then start layering when it comes to the foils and the cardstocks. I do also add a shim. I use the 2 plates that come with it, but I do also like to put a piece of cardstock shim in there. It just gives it just a little bit more pressure. To get a good, more solid foiling technique. Again, that works for me. There are many others out there that have their own techniques as well. So I'm just getting this set up, and then once it's ready, I will add all of my plates on top, and I will run this through my Platinum 6. Now, once it is heated, you can just continually go. I'm, again, not showing that. I'll link to another video, but here are my pieces, and there are some just beautiful foiled images, and these are outline of the images. But as I said, there are dies that match, which is always a good thing. You know, we always like to have the dies that match. So I'm just going to get those set up, and again, I will run each of these pieces through my die cutting machine. Now, there's a little bit different technique that I am going to use when it comes to these plates, and that's on the larger plate, the one with the pumpkin and the greens that come out from behind it. These are the pieces that we've cut, and I also cut some out of some mirror cardstock. But with this plate, it's kind of spongy, but it's not spongy like the spongy pad that you get with a Spellbinders machine. So I wanted to try something. So I placed the pumpkin plate down with the embossed image raised. I'm going to put 2 pieces of cardstock down, and I'm going to add my 2 plates. Now, if you notice how I put the sentiment, just say. So yeah, it went into the thing. It didn't destroy it because it's bouncy, it's rubbery. But I did, now that was a good impression, but I did want it just a little bit stronger, a little bit more pronounced. And I also wanted to get the sentiment in there, but I kept on working at the image itself. Now this time I'm going to try a piece of chipboard, which is like the weight of a cereal box. So I got a little bit deeper of an impression, which was good. But again, still not getting the sentiment on there. I'm not quite sure why. I was just completely oblivious to that. And here we go. Now we're going to get the sentiment. So this time I'm putting the pieces directly onto the cardstock, and then I'm going to use some low tack washi tape to hold that sentiment in place. This works very well. I just always make sure that my washi tape or tape that I'm using is extremely low tack. I always seem to pull up the paper. Oh. Again, I'm going to use the chipboard again. Now, what happened this time, I actually had the impression of the plate going down into the grid of the system. Again, it's spongy, so that gave it some give. The other way, it's going up on a hard surface, so it's not going to puncture through. So as long as I had my plate facing down onto the Glimmer mat, I had that movement, had that give, I got a beautiful impression as you saw. So now I'm just playing with the placement of the die cuts that I have. Am I going to use just the color ones? Am I going to use just the gold ones? And again, I want them to come off of the inset image that I have sitting on the bottom left hand corner. I really liked it, or liked that effect. I thought it was really cool. I'm not sure about the sentiment though. I do end up changing that. While you can see it, I don't know, it was just kind of throwing me off there. So it will change. So I'm just having fun placing my my die cuts around, adding the little bit of touches of gold just to have that accent. I will grab my painter's tape so that I can make sure that it's low tack, and also so I can pick up all of these pieces. Now I'm grabbing my white pigment ink and my Distress Oxide Vintage Photo, and also my Distress Ink Vintage Photo. So there was just all kinds of things that I was doing there. But first I need to carefully remove the way I have those laid out, because I don't want to lose the way that I have them laid out. So again, I use my painter's tape, I tear it in half, and I just make sure I put it on my skin or my shirt to really remove the tackiness. And it's perfect to hold these images, and you can see I can just move that whole design right off. I'm coming in with my white pigment to accent the embossed area that I have on this image. I just wanted that to come out a little bit more. And the white just added a hint. But I didn't want it so white, so I'm going to come back in with some of the Oxide Vintage Photo, which still see the white, but killed the white, if that makes sense. So it's not as bright on that dark cardstock, but there is a shadow of it, and that's what I was kind of looking for. So I'm sorry, it's difficult. I'm not explaining this too well, but it's like I made another shade of oxide, which I probably could have used one of the oxides, but started out with the white. I came in with another color just to tone it down. So now I flip those images over that are being held by the painter's tape, and I add my liquid glue to them so that when I place it down, the majority of the images are secured in place, which is a good thing. And then any images that are not, I can then determine, do I want to prop that up on with some foam squares, or do I want to use my liquid adhesive to continue to set that in place. But at least the majority, the ones that I would want straight down onto the card design, are actually already there. I did choose to prop up the pumpkins, and you can see I'm pointing at that sentiment, and yeah, now I have an idea. When the fingers tap, there's just some thought process that's going on here. Lots of it. So what I did was I foiled the sentiment, and then I used the large leaf cutout for it. And I just placed that right over where I embossed. And no one will ever know unless they pull that piece off. Okay. I went around the edges with my vintage photo, and I'm going to use my tape runner to put this down onto my standard A2 size card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it is a top folding card base. I did cut this panel to be 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 so that I have a small white border going around the outside. So this is our project using the October 2019 Glimmer Kit of the Month by Spellbinders. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I gave you some ideas for when you receive your kit. All the products that I used and the inspiration gallery, a link to their blog, and their shop, of course, will be down below in the video description. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave those down below as well, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I want to thank you so much again and always for stopping by and spending just a little bit of time with me watching the video. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe, be a member, and make sure you ring the bell so that you know when the next video launches so that you don't miss that. I hope everyone's having a great day, but always remember what's most important to me. Always, be creative.